Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to take a trip back in time and discover how soccer, the world's most beloved sport, came to be. I'll tell you how a simple ball game evolved into the global phenomenon it is today. We'll also explore the first legendary teams that made history and the pioneers who first wore soccer cleats. Sit back, relax, and let's get started. First, let's dispel a myth. Soccer did not originate on a specific day. Ball games existed in ancient China, Japan, the Roman Empire, and medieval Europe. In China, for example, they played Cuju, a military game in which players had to kick a leather ball stuffed with feathers through an opening in a silk net. During the Renaissance in Italy, people played Florentine football, a violent sport combining soccer, rugby, and wrestling. Modern soccer, however, originated in England in the mid-19th century in private schools. Places like Eton, Harrow, and Rugby each had their own rules for football. Some allowed the use of hands, while others did not. Some were more violent, and others more refined. Chaos reigned supreme until October 26, 1863, a date to remember. On that day, 11 London clubs gathered at the Freemasons' Tavern in Covent Garden to establish the Football Association, the world's first soccer federation. It was there that the first official rules of football were established. These original rules were very different from those of today. There was no offside as we know it. There were no penalties. Goalkeepers could be physically charged. The crossbars were just ribbons stretched between the posts. Still, it was a start, and that day marked the birth of modern football. After the rules were codified, soccer spread rapidly. Initially, it was a gentleman's sport played by the wealthy. However, it soon won over British factory workers and the working class. Factories began forming teams, and soccer became the favorite Saturday afternoon pastime. In 1871, the FA Cup was established, making it the oldest football competition still in existence today. The first final was played in 1872 between the Wanderers and the Royal Engineers. Can you imagine? They played in front of only 2,000 spectators. Today, FA Cup finals fill Wembley Stadium with 90,000 people. However, the real revolution occurred in 1888 with the establishment of the Football League, the first football championship in history. William McGregor, director of Aston Villa, had the brilliant idea to create a regular competition among 12 clubs. Instead of just friendly matches, there would be a real tournament with rankings, promotions, and relegations. The 12 founding teams were Accrington, Aston Villa, Blackburn Rovers, Bolton Wanderers, Burnley, Derby County, Everton, Notts County, Preston North End, Stoke City, West Bromwich Albion, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Some of these names still resonate in English football today. Preston North End won the first championship in extraordinary fashion, going undefeated in cup matches and not conceding a single goal, earning them the nickname, the Invincibles. This feat would only be repeated by Arsène Wenger's Arsenal in the 2003-04 season. After discussing the origins of the first competitions and the founding of the first clubs, we will now examine the teams that made football history in its early decades. Blackburn Rovers were the first great dynasty of English football. Between 1884 and 1886, they won 3 consecutive FA Cups, demonstrating how football was becoming more organized and competitive. The team was mainly made up of textile factory workers from Lancashire. Aston Villa dominated the 1890s, winning 5 championships in 7 years. Their strength lay in their solid defense and their revolutionary collective style of play. Villa Park became one of the first true football stadiums, with wooden stands that could accommodate thousands of spectators. However, when discussing the most iconic team of the late 19th century, Preston North End must be mentioned. In addition to their perfect season in 1888-89, Preston won the double, League and Cup, that legendary year. Their style of play was innovative, featuring short passes, high pressing, and a tactical organization decades ahead of modern soccer. Further north in Scotland, one of football's oldest and most intense rivalries was born: Celtic and Rangers. Founded in 1887 by a Catholic priest, Celtic was established to raise funds for the impoverished Irish community in Glasgow. The already existing Rangers became the symbol of the Protestant community. This religious and cultural divide has made the Old Firm derby between the two teams one of the most passionate events in sports. Football arrived in Italy in the late 19th century with English merchants and sailors. Founded in 1893, Genoa Cricket and Football Club was the first Italian club and won the first Italian championship in 1898. Yes, you read that right. Cricket and football. Because they also played cricket at first. Shortly afterwards, Juventus, 1897, Milan, 1899, and Inter, 1908, were founded. These clubs were not yet the giants they are today, but they showed ambition to become great. Milan was founded by English and Italian players at the Fiacciateria Toscana restaurant. Inter was born from a split with Milan to allow for the inclusion of foreign players. Barcelona, Spain's oldest club, was founded in 1899 by a group of Swiss, English, German, and Catalan nationals led by Joan Gamper. Real Madrid was founded shortly thereafter in 1902 as Madrid Football Club. These teams would dominate Spanish and world soccer in the following century, but initially, they were just sports clubs for enthusiasts. Now we come to perhaps the most fascinating part: the pioneers, the first true champions of soccer. Arthur Wharton deserves to be remembered as the first professional black soccer player in the game's history. Born in Ghana in 1865, Wharton played goalkeeper for Preston North End, Rotherham United, and Sheffield United from the 1880s to the 1890s. Wharton was also an exceptional athlete. In 1886, he set the world record for the 100-meter dash with a time of 10 seconds. Unfortunately, he was forgotten for decades due to racism, and he died in poverty in 1930. Steve Bloomer was probably the first true striker in history. He played for Derby County and Middlesbrough from 1892 to 1914 and scored an impressive 352 goals in 598 games. An incredible average. Bloomer was small, fast, technical, and had an extraordinary nose for the goal. Bloomer scored 28 goals in 23 games for England, a record that stood for over 50 years. Bloomer was so famous that Derby fans still sing songs in his honor today. Billy Meredith was the first true soccer superstar. Born in Wales in 1874, he played right wing for Manchester City and Manchester United from 1894 to 1924. That's right, he played until he was 50. He was famous for his dazzling dribbling, speed, and for always chewing a toothpick during games. He was also a revolutionary. In 1907, he helped found the Players' Union, the first footballers' union, to defend players' rights. He was soccer's first true rebel. In contrast, Vivian Woodward represented gentlemanly football. He was an amateur who refused to be paid to play, believing that soccer should remain an amateur sport. Woodward played for Tottenham and Chelsea, and captained the England national team. At the 1908 and 1912 Olympics, when Olympic soccer was dominated by amateurs, Woodward led England to 2 gold medals, scoring plenty of goals. The first great soccer champion in Italy was Renzo De Vecchi, who was nicknamed Il Figlio di Dio, the Son of God, for his incredible saves. He played goalkeeper for Milan and Genoa in the early 1900s and was the first true Italian soccer idol. His rivalry with Genoa goalkeeper Carlo Savanini excited the crowds. However, if we are talking about the first truly global soccer player, we must mention Pál Leiner. Leiner was a Hungarian goalkeeper who played for Ferencváros in Budapest. He was considered the best goalkeeper in Europe in the early 1900s. Even then, the Hungarians were developing a technical, refined style of play that would dominate European soccer for decades. It's important to understand that soccer in the late 19th and early 20th centuries was completely different from modern soccer. Initially, teams played with ultra-offensive formations. For example, the 2-3-5 formation consisted of 2 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 5 forwards. Matches often ended with scores like 6-4 or 7-5. Defense was considered almost dishonorable. Players wore heavy leather boots that became even heavier when wet. The ball was made of leather with an inner bladder. When it rained, the ball absorbed water and weighed almost a kilo. Heading that ball was painful and dangerous. The fields were often uneven and full of holes. In factories, they were simply marked out in courtyards. There were no floodlights, so games were only played during the day. The uniforms were simple: wool jerseys, knee-length shorts, and long socks. There were no substitutions. If you got injured, you either continued playing while limping, or your team finished the game with fewer players. Until 1909, goalkeepers wore the same uniform as the other players. That year, a rule was finally introduced requiring them to wear different colors. It didn't take long for soccer to spread beyond Great Britain. British sailors, merchants, engineers, and entrepreneurs spread the sport to every corner of the globe. It arrived in South America at the end of the 19th century. In Argentina, for example, British sailors founded clubs such as the Buenos Aires Football Club in 1867. The Alumni Athletic Club, founded by Buenos Aires English high school students, dominated Argentine soccer in the early 1900s, winning 10 championships. Charles Miller, the son of a Scottish engineer, introduced soccer to Brazil after studying in England. In 1894, he organized the first soccer match on Brazilian soil. Legendary clubs such as São Paulo Athletic Club and later, giants such as Flamengo, Corinthians, and São Paulo emerged from there. In Uruguay, where soccer would become almost a religion, Peñarol, founded in 1891, and Nacional, founded in 1899, were established. These two teams would dominate South American soccer for decades. Soccer spread rapidly in continental Europe. In Germany, Hamburg SV, 1887, and Bayern Munich, 1900, were established. In the Netherlands, Ajax, 1900, was founded. English sailors in Le Havre founded one of the oldest clubs on the continent, Le Havre Athletic Club, 1872, in France. 7 European nations founded FIFA, Fédération Internationale de Football Association, in Paris in 1904, France, Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. England, the proud inventor of the game, did not initially join, considering itself superior. The first international competitions were between European and South American teams. The first official international match took place in 1872 between England and Scotland. The game ended in a 0-0 tie in front of 4,000 spectators in Glasgow. Soccer became an Olympic sport in 1900 in Paris, albeit unofficially. The first official Olympic soccer competition took place at the 1908 Olympics in London, where Great Britain easily triumphed. The Copa America, the oldest national team competition in the world still in existence, was born in South America in 1916. Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, and Brazil participated in the first edition, which Uruguay won. However, the event that would change soccer forever was on the horizon, the first World Cup, which would be played in Uruguay in 1930. That's a story for a future video. We have reached the end of our journey through the birth of soccer. We've seen how a simple ball game played in English schoolyards evolved into a global phenomenon that generates billions of euros and thrills billions of people today. Pioneering teams like Preston North End, Aston Villa, and Blackburn Rovers laid the groundwork for the world's most popular sport. Early legendary players like Steve Bloomer, Billy Meredith, and Arthur Wharton demonstrated that talent, dedication, and passion can turn an ordinary player into a legend. It's fascinating to think that today's soccer, with its 80,000-seat stadiums, billion-dollar television rights, and millionaire players, has its roots in the muddy games played by workers who loved the sport purely for its own sake. Those pioneers could not have imagined that they were creating something immortal. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. In future videos, we will continue our journey through sports history, of course including soccer. Let me know in the comments which historical period of soccer you would like to explore first. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.